Now we get to talk about the implications of the new OCG ban list on us. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that Tearlaments button so you guys don't miss out more on us. I do genuinely believe there will be a day where we are going to see Kit Gallos actually return back to the game as an actual monster that will be usable for, future applications in the game. Now, interesting parts about the implications on this. A lot of these movements on this list could indicate that we could be seeing some future support coming down the pipeline. The Vices lore is technically in a loop right now, I guess, but I wouldn't be surprised to see something, maybe further down the line for Tear, because Tear's the one I think that stands out the least to this, because this just seems like Konami was like, hey, take back a Reno Heart, let's test this out. I believe right now the TCG has more Tearlaments cards to work with than the OCG does, but the OCG's got a more dangerous game that they're playing because they have Curious and the rest of these incredibly stupid combo monsters that they can kind of throw together and actually create a completely different crazy hybrid build than we can. That's a more dangerous game that I'm not exactly trying to play right now with that. But right now, I think Tearlaments, especially in the next year, 2 years, Kit Gallos might be something coming back. On the short term, this just means that Konami is trying to loosen up some of the restrictions on some of these cards to kind of free up the list. Because right now, adding one Reno to the equation for the already existing pool, I don't think is going to really do enough to make this even crazier. But patience, all right? Anything Tearlaments related coming in the future, we'll see. Now let's talk about Zodiac. Now this one, I think this seems the most illogical one that we could have. And honestly, at this point in time, just put Rat Pier to 3 and call it a day. The only real thing that you're getting by allowing Rat Pier to exist as a 3-of, you basically give the deck the ability to gain one extra rank 4. Now, rank 4s have been pretty hammered into the ground. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, back in the day you could end on Trident and Dweller. That's pretty good. But you could also end on extra bodies to be able to kind of do more Zodiac combo. Broad Bull's still locked up in a dumpster. Having one more Rat Pier to work with isn't going to hurt the equation of things. And we've been predicting Zodiac support for a very, very long time. And I think Konami, Zoo in its time was incredibly broken. I don't think a single one of us isn't going to not acknowledge that fact. But right now, the problem is if you bring Ratman back and you bring, Broad Bull's probably going to be your problem. I'd recommend making an Exceed monster that can just search for Zodiac monsters. At that point, I think you would counterbalance that package. Zodiac desperately needs something. Even Trident has been power crept. A pop 1 that doesn't negate or interact in any sort of fancy, meaningful way does cause a lot of issues with initial end boards and setups. So that's kind of where we are right now. I think we might be finally seeing this. We've been predicting this for the last year or so since China got some of those exclusive rarity upgrades. It just seems like a good call. Metamorphosis. So Meta's been another one of those cards that we've talked about needs to go to 3, because right now, the best thing you could do is you can play the 2 copies and then you could technically thrust into it. Now, thrust 3, 4, and 5, what's it going to really do? Not having fusion in the name really hinders this card from being able to be broken and, all of the crazy facets of the direction that it needs to go. So, right now, this is also a Jaden card. They've been pushing for more Jaden interactions, especially since the anime has been re-airing. Kind of makes sense, right? If you got people that are watching GX for the first time and they see Metamorphosis and they're like, wow, I kind of want to go play this card. It seems really, really strong. And they were to look at the Forbidden Unlimited list and they would see it doesn't seem to work out. I think Meta will probably be a card that will probably eventually move to 3. Meta does seem like, and I mean, metamorphosing a level 7 Dark Magician into a Last Warrior from Another Planet seems stupid. It seems broken. But modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't allow for an interaction like that to exist. Why would I have to rely on this when I want to, get combo pieces to be starters? I need to find cards to be able to get interactions to go. I do think there are a few Jaden cards missing. I think Metamorphosis eventually moving along that pipeline will probably be a clear indicator of future support for the rest of the missing hero stuff. So that's something to look forward to, honestly. Especially since, we probably have a Uriah and a Raphael that they can still make for these side packs. Which brings us to Droll Lock Bird. I've read a lot of interesting conversations about Droll Lock Bird over time here. A few of them have been like, why are we touching Droll Lock Bird? Droll Lock Bird should be at 3. And then you've got other people, the OCG was abusing Droll very, very heavily this last format. And that's why it actually went to 1 this list, because when every single deck is starting to kind of tip into this, and they're trying to abuse this card in some crazy numbers, yeah, it's gonna get checked, people. That's what happens. Alright, now, you can make the argument, is Droll a symptom of the decks of the format, or is Droll just a problematic card? I mean, you can tip your scales and your arguments in either direction that you're trying to go with. It can be said either way, alright? I think, though, that Droll Lock Bird is probably going to stay at 1 in the OCG. I kind of have a feeling the TCG is going to leave it at 2. If the TCG pushes Droll to 1, you are going to have a pretty big outbreak of some cancerous decks. White Forest has already been one of the symptoms of Droll Lock Bird's reduction. If you don't have a natural check to a deck whose job is to turbo through its resources and clunk, clunk, clunk through the card advantage, then, you're just going to wonder, wow, how did I just get obliterated by this? Hello? So I'd be a little bit wary about where we're going to sit with Droll Lock Bird, because it does seem like one of those things that is going to actually kind of do some, depending on the number, it's going to affect the game in maybe some positives and some negatives. But if you're counting technically Maxi as a Droll Lock Bird, I guess it's technically at 2 in the OCG, but alright. And Secret Village, please get this card out of the game, man. We just printed Terraforming 2, 3, and 4 into the game. And I just saw an Odeon deck that was playing triple Odin to search for a Secret Village as an end board piece. Why? Why are we abusing Secret Village of all cards? Oh, because making it so your opponent cannot play 33% of the entire pool of cards in the game is such a damning aspect. Now, you could technically make the argument, well, with Dark Magical Curtain existing, just play a Spellcaster in your deck. It'll bypass a Secret Village. Why did I not think of that? But the problem is, it's one spellcaster. It revolves a curtain being resolved. If I play curtain, I can't because Secret Village is active. That's a lot to think about. Though Witch of the Black Forest has been seeing an uptick in play. But I do think we will see Secret Village kind of get obliterated out of this little block of things, because like the reality of the situation is it's just a cancerous card that nobody wants to deal with, and I would rather have the game be a little bit more clean in the chaotic side of things so we can actually enjoy it and be able to do things. But outside of that, yeah, this game is there are interesting things to be had here, to say the least. So what do you guys think about everything? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.